Anyone who knows me outside of YouTube is aware that I am obsessed with Plundar from Ninjago. Like, to the degree where I've been actively trying to hunt down ways to get fan-made merchandise for him, like keychains, shirts, or, by the will of God himself, a show-accurate minifigure, because LEGO refuses to provide such a thing. A fruitless effort thus far. For those unaware, Plundar is a random-ass side character from LEGO Ninjago's 13th season, Master of the Mountain. He's slightly relevant to the plot for about 8 episodes, and then he pisses off again until the original show's finale, where he's minorly important for one scene, and then never again. I honestly couldn't tell you why my brain latched onto him so hard, but I've been rotating him around in my mind like those high-quality spinning food gifts for 5 years now, and I just think he's an interesting character, even if he was never meant to be all that deep. And I'm so loud and proud about this obsession that an entire corner of the internet knows me as the Plundar guy. My friends have been joking for years now that I should pull a tryst and make a video on him to rightfully cement me as his #1 fan and expert, and I think it's time I finally sat down and do it. Only problem being, like I said, Plundar is just a random side character. It doesn't matter how deeply I love him. There is, truthfully, not enough to him to warrant a full-length video on him alone. It would just be 20 minutes of me stalling for time, and probably playing edits of him that I stole from TikTok. Little did you know I'm a nasty dog. But the good news is, Plundar is part of a group of side characters, one that I think is severely underutilized. So to make my obligatory and inevitable Plundar video longer than 5 minutes, I'm going to be talking about the Upply as a whole. My thoughts on all of the characters, the way I interpret them, some personal ideas I have for just what the hell they are and where they came from, and why I believe they would be perfect candidates to bring back in the new series, Dragons Rising. The Upply, for those unfamiliar with them, are a party of adventurers that hail from all different parts of Ninjago's universe. The group consists of Korgran of Metalonia, Fungus the Sorcerer, and Plundar the Thief. The only one who actually gets a backstory is Korgran. He sucked so much ass at being a Metalonian barbarian that his dad basically told him to fuck off because he kept attacking random people on the street. So Korgran takes up a quest issued by King Vangelis, who runs a mysterious kingdom high up in some mountains named Shintaro. Fungus and Plundar also accept this summons, but where they came from is never explained in universe. Plundar can easily be explained away as hailing from one of the small villages that are spread across Ninjago, but Fungus is a bit harder to place, and a fair bit more interesting, if my thoughts have any merit to them. See, King Vangelis summoned the soon-to-be trio to Shintaro to retrieve an item of immense mystic power. Long before Shintaro was ever a kingdom, there wasn't a city on top of the mountains, but inside of them. And this underground city/labyrinth of dungeons was run by an evil necromancing sorcerer named Hazador. When this sorcerer eventually died, his skull was kept alive through dark reanimation magic and remained within the mountains. Shintaro was later built above these old mines and dungeons, and the caverns were sealed off. The Upply go down to get the skull for Vangelis. They find that the skull is way more evil than they thought, so they bring it up and tell Vangelis that it should be destroyed. The king responds by revealing that he's evil and banishing them to rock bottom, the absolute lowest point of the mountains with no possible way for them to escape. And judging by how old Vanya was when they were banished compared to her age when they're rescued, they were down there for roughly 10 to 15 years, meaning they missed all of Ninjago's technological evolution. Plundar has probably never seen a flat-screen TV in his life, and it would likely give him a heart attack. All of that stuff was in the show, but none of it is the really interesting part. Ninjago is only one of 16 realms within the show's universe, obviously. There are 15 others that exist parallel to each other. Hazador was originally from one of the other 15, a realm named Mysterium, a place of magic and fantasy. In Dragons Rising, it was revealed that the humans who inhabit Mysterium are sorcerers, the most notable of which being Gondolaria, the high sorceress of the realm. Like Hazador, she was also canonically known to travel to other realms from time to time, implying that might just be something people from Mysterium can do. There are 4 sorcerers in the original show: Hazador, Klaus, Vangelis, and Fungus. Even people who have only seen earlier Ninjago probably know Klaus. He's the right-hand man of Master Chen, the main villain of the 4th season Tournament of Elements. Klaus was trained in dark magic and used incantations from his spellbook, so he could very well be from Ninjago and just using a mystic item for his power, similar to Vangelis with the skull. And because he was there during the Serpentine Wars, I'm inclined to believe that, yeah, he's just from Ninjago. Hazador is canonically from Mysterium himself, so there's no mystery there. But what about Fungus? He doesn't borrow magic from a book or a skull. He seems to be using magic of his own. In Dragons Rising, it's established that sorcerers from Mysterium can cast spells. They have some sort of innate magical ability. Often this magic is channeled through an item like a crystal ball. Mysterian sorcerers also use their enchanted hats as a means to store magic power in items, which is rather interesting when you take a look at Fungus. No, he doesn't have a crystal ball, but like Gondolaria, he's able to draw power from his hat, a hat seemingly infinitely full with magic fungi and plant matter. His style of clothing is even similar to others from Mysterium. It is very clear that Fungus is using magic in the same way that people from Mysterium do, which is why I believe he's actually from the realm. And that's not all too far-fetched, because again, there are plenty of methods for inter-realm travel before the merge. Even Gondolaria herself is cited as being able to travel to other realms. But if that's the case, why is Fungus in Ninjago? That could be for any number of reasons. He could have just been traveling to travel, or maybe he was looking for something, adventure, treasure, purpose, or something he was sent out to get. Maybe he knew of Hazadura and where his skull would likely be, and he was sent out to make sure it wasn't causing trouble still. That's just me spitballing ideas, but the real important thing to note is that Fungus holds a lot of similarities to people from Mysterium, and it's very likely that he is from there and traveled to Ninjago before getting stuck in the mountain. Which means he could be old as shit, by the way, because Gondolaria is in her thousands and still looks like that. Okay, so Fungus is from somewhere in Mysterium, Korgran is from Metalonia in Ninjago, and Plundar is from somewhere? Like I said, Plundar is likely from Ninjago as well. I don't really see him coming from any of the other realms because he doesn't fit in with any of the other humans or humanoids we've seen. My funny answer is that Chicago exists within Ninjago, and he grew up above his pa's pizza place on the west side with his 7 other siblings. Because why the hell does he have that accent if he's not one of us? But my actual answer is that he's likely from some random little village like Ignacia, Jamanakai, or the one Cole grew up in that has like 6 homes and a crack house, which I actually do like for him. Plundar is a crook and a thief. He goes so far as to try to loot the Earth Temple in Shintaro. You know, the sacred place that pays respects to Cole's dead mother? Yeah, he wants to steal from it. Him growing up in a small village, likely being poor, and then leaving in search of riches and treasure makes a lot of sense to me. And after something as world-changing and spectacular as the merge was, I don't think he'd stay in place. I don't think any of them would stay in place, for their own reasons. We know that the Upply stay in Shintaro with Vanya after the events of Master of the Mountain, because we see them in her castle in Seabound. And they stay with her up until at least Crystallized as well, because they're with her during the fight against the Crystal King. But after that, I have my doubts. The Upply are a group of adventurers. The joke of them is that they're like an out-of-practice D&D party. However, in Master of the Mountain they prove time and time again that they've still got it. And you're telling me that during the merge, the Upply just sat around and twiddled their thumbs? Absolutely not, dude. With the fantasy elements of Dragon's Rising's setting, I genuinely think that the Upply are prime candidates to be brought back for something, especially with their diverse backgrounds that could make any one of them useful for one reason or another. Maybe Fungus has some Mysterian insight on something. Korgran knows an important place in Metalonia. Plundar stole something from a vendor in the crossroads one day that seemed a little too important to stay in his hands. Even if there's no room for any of that, I'm a bit surprised they haven't even shown up in the background of any shots. They'd fit right in with the crowd, especially in a place like the crossroads, and they'd be easy models to reuse. One argument I've heard for them not being used is that it may be an issue of voice actors. And to that I say, Fungus is voiced by Ian James Corlett, the voice behind Clutch Powers, Clancy, Chen, and Scales. If they wanted to bring him back for anything, they absolutely could, because they've been doing that for years. Korgran is voiced by Paul Dobson, who has done a significant amount of background characters for the show, and has most recently appeared in Dragon Rising Season 2 as Zur. He also plays Master Wu. And Plundar's voice is done by Adam Trask, who recently came back in Dragon's Rising Season 3 to play Tyr. Voice actors are not why the Upply have not been utilized yet. In truth, they're likely not being used because they're not relevant. And I'm pretty sure I'm the only person who cares that they're not. But come on, a party of traveling adventurers? And you're not gonna use them for anything after the merge? There's so many new things, so much new loot and ideas and such happening here, and they can't even appear in the background when Chancellor Gulch, of all people, can get his own speaking role in an episode? The Upply could be used for a lot of different things within this new world that's been set up. Honestly, I just want to see them again. I'm very aware it's highly unrealistic for them to come back and have some huge role in the show. That's not what I'm aiming for. But if past characters like Moro, Gulch, and Fugitive can come back for an episode or two, then I see no reason why the Upply can't. It's as simple as Sora and Aaron bumping into the crew in Mysterium, or Adam and Plundar giving Nia and Kai directions in the Crossroads. I mean, if you're not going to utilize your party of adventurers in the situation that they are quite literally fit the best in, the least you could do is throw me some crumbs here and give me in-show confirmation that they're out there adventuring it up. Because you cannot tell me that they watched the merge happen and then went to doing nothing at all in Shintaro. And given their background, I don't think that they do that after meeting Cole and having their spark relit by his leadership. Characters like Vanya or Benthamar, I'm not really surprised we haven't seen again yet. I do love them, but they have pretty fixed settings that make them good if you need Shintaro or the Merlopians for anything. But not much outside of that. They're very busy people, after all, running their kingdoms. But the Upply doesn't have that fixed purpose. They're wanderers, so to have them appear again, you don't need too specific of a situation. They could be anywhere, and the explanation as to why they're there is as simple as, because they're the Upply. Looking for loot and traveling around is their thing. And while, yes, it is fun to see older Dragons Rising characters like Rapton and Gondolaria come back for an episode, I really like when side characters from the original show are checked up on. It bridges the two shows, settings, and generations very well, and I think Dragons Rising has done a fantastic job with it so far. Much better than Crystallized. Crystallized felt like an unbearable string of, hey, remember this character? Look, there they are! Look, you know that one, and they're back now! Now let's beat Nia's character to death again.
He is okay now!
Oh my god, I don't fucking care.
But in Dragons Rising, these old characters coming back feels much more natural and fun. And that's why I'm really crossing my fingers and praying they show me my glorious homeless losers again. Who in that writer's room do I need to kidnap to make it happen? Call me knocked, the way I am not above using brute force to get my way. Kidding. Once again, I must say that I am sure I am the only person on this earth who cares that we haven't seen these random side characters in a couple years. But that's part of why I'm making this video. I need other people to remember how cool these dudes were, and realize that they fit so perfectly into the Dragons Rising world. Like, it's actually ridiculous how well they fit in with these crowds. They are some of the least talked about side characters I've seen in the show, and quite frankly, that upsets me. Because they are baller as hell, and their designs are great. When Plundar took off his hood and revealed that he was a baddie? Dude, why are more people not talking about this? Why aren't more people talking about the hot Lego twink? But sorry boys, he's actually married to me. So I think it's safe to say that I am the Upply's #1 fan at this point. Plundar for sure that one, if no one else. I don't know, maybe there's some teenaged girl out there who's really obsessed with Corgran of Metalonia, but I mean, I haven't seen it yet, so feel free to prove me wrong. By the way, did you guys know that the Upply don't have personality sections on the Ninjago wiki? Really, guys? They were there for half of the season and literally went through their whole own arc with Cole, and we couldn't think of anything to scrap together for that section? We couldn't do it? I would try to edit the wiki and give them that information myself, but knowing how toilet water the Ninjago fan wiki could be, I think it would just get deleted immediately. Hey Ninjago fan wiki mods, if you can hear me, stop uploading all of the images in 480p. I'm gonna come to your house and steal something out of it. Stop it! But anyways, I've talked about Fungus's weird origin shit, I've talked about how the group should come back to the show, but now I want to talk about the characters themselves. Because if nobody cares to understand these guys as well as I do, then I'm going to make you care. So buckle up. This group has obviously become very close and codependent on each other over their years together, but even when they first met, they worked together like a well-oiled machine. And that's because they have a very good balance among them. Again, like a D&D party. It makes them pretty fun to watch. Over a decade trapped together has certainly solidified the dynamic they hold, and they're very aware of each other's patterns, behaviors, and feelings at multiple points throughout the season. Corgran is the firepower of the team. Though he isn't the smartest by any means, he is by far the strongest on a physical level. On different occasions throughout the season, he's played up as the group's most lighthearted member. He cracks jokes, he laughs in the face of danger, he talks up his skills. He's also the only Metalonian we get to see in the show after Karloff, which is pretty cool. I think a part of the reason he's so enjoyable within this group is that he is completely absurd, but in such a fitting way that the other two balance him out. He almost drinks a cup of magma until Plundar calls his bluff. He runs headfirst into a giant stone gateway, because Fungus told him to. Before he met the Upply, Corgran had this almost fear he'd never be able to do anything right. He couldn't complete a quest to cement his place among his people, and he worried that he never would. But upon meeting his friends, it's very clear to me why that approach never worked out well for him. He's not good on his own. He does best within a team, with other people who balance him out and support him. He's clearly very ride or die for his friends, and I think that's a very good trait for him to have. Despite his capability, he needs Plundar's quick thinking and Fungus's guidance to keep him on the right track, and they, in turn, need his brute strength to fall back on. It's a good balance. It's simply an added bonus that he brings a little humor into their mix. I'm very glad we get to see a glimpse into Corgran's background, because it does make him all the more interesting to me. He couldn't succeed until he found the people he clicked with, and that ended up being the Upply, not the other Metalonians. He almost vaguely parallels Cole in this regard for me. Cole had to find his people too. He didn't fit in with the crowd his father wanted him to. He fit in with the ninja. Fungus has always been the one that I saw as the impromptu leader of the group before Cole's involvement. He corrects the other two often and keeps them on track. When Plundar had his doubts about following Cole and began complaining, it was Fungus who gently told him someone taking a fresh look never hurt. Corgran listens to him when asked to do something. He's the first of the trio to agree with Cole whenever he suggests something, which in turn makes the others warm up to him too. He seems the most put together of the group, with the others very willing to follow. He too keeps the spirits up, and he honestly seems like a magical version of someone's very sweet grandpa. He acts as the glue of the team. Without him, I have no doubt that the other two would constantly argue, given how quick Plundar is to snap at Corgran. I get the impression that he is the problem solver, which is likely why he seems to be their leader. Corgran isn't great with planning or observation, and Plundar is too busy complaining and hesitating to get things done without direction. Fungus has the initiative to openly collaborate with others, and the sensibility and patience to keep his fellow adventurers from falling apart. Another little detail I like about Fungus is how proud he is of his magic. During several moments, he shows it off just because he can. He gets annoyed a few times when someone underestimates or downplays its capabilities. So while he is the most sensible of the group, he is seemingly rather touchy about the things he's good at. His goofy mannerisms and his way of speaking are just the icing on the cake, because it makes it very funny that the person the other adventurers are looking to for guidance is this guy. And lastly, we have the object of my affection. The whole reason I made this video in the first place. Plundar. Plundar is very interesting to me, partially because he is very clearly reacting to the situation in a way he deems is completely justified, and he's pissed off that nobody else agrees with him. He's very upset by the idea that someone new could just waltz into rock bottom and figure things out immediately, probably because he's been trying for over a decade and never could find a way out. I believe it's because, like the other Upply, he's scared to fail again. He's afraid to be bad at the one thing he ever wanted to be good at, adventuring. That and the fact that he is extremely impatient. So when Cole gets dumped into rock bottom, promising results and being hyped up as some big hero by Vanya, Plundar expects immediate results. Because who does this guy think he is? But Plundar is very clearly all bark and very little bite, which fits him as a rogue-type character. He complains and snaps at Cole when he's not getting the results he wants, and he immediately becomes embarrassed, backpedals, and apologizes when he's proven wrong. He teases others to get a reaction out of them, such as when he calls Fungus's farsight the pictures. And he calls others bluffs out of annoyance, like when Corgran claimed he drank lava for breakfast. He definitely sees himself as the most capable person in the room at any given point, which is funny, given that he is the most hesitant and whiny one. In fact, he's so unsure of the things that he does that he often leaves his next move up to chance. Whatever his dice tell him, he does. Meaning if he had made a bad roll in that magma chamber, he probably would have needed a lot of convincing from Fungus to keep moving forward. Because at that point, he did not fuck with Cole. He also seems a bit embarrassed by his reliance on his dice. There's a couple of times where he looks at them and then hides them away behind his back, which makes me believe he wants people to think he's a tough guy who has the answers, but he's truthfully really not. It's a big moment for him when he finally decides to stop using the dice. That's when he puts his full faith in Cole, where, despite his apparent mistrust of anyone who isn't his two pals, or Adam, he decides to open up a bit more, to work more effectively in a team. And despite only knowing him for a few episodes at that point, it feels like a big payoff, not just for him, but for Cole and his leadership skills. His snarky attitude carries him far. He knows he's not the strongest or a powerful magic user, and for a while it seems to make him bitter. But by the end of the season, he's come around. While he's still bratty and sarcastic, it's less snappy and more teasing and lighthearted now. Truthfully, I think he trapped himself in a cage of his own making. Sure, he was physically trapped, but he had also built a mental wall, one that he could only fully break down when Cole gave him the hope and new perspective he so desperately needed. And by the time Crystallized rolls around, he's gone from snapping at Cole's every risky decision to being fully ready to ride Adam into battle and risk his life to save him. In such a short amount of time, given that this was the 11-minute era and Plundar was only around for half of the season, Ninjago managed to give him a really good and interesting arc. Through Plundar, the writers were also able to prove that Cole had retained his leadership and connection skills after all these years. Cole is very good with people, able to give hope and a second chance to even the toughest cookies to crack. Plundar is better off because Cole was in his life for even a brief moment, and getting to see firsthand how Cole shapes the people around him and helps pick them back up on their feet is incredibly interesting. And if you're more interested on my thoughts on Cole, you should check out the video I made about him 2 years ago. So ultimately, I think Plundar is my favorite character because Cole is my favorite ninja. There's something so special about watching Plundar, and the Upply as a whole, gain back their confidence and their will to go on because of him. Their dynamic and personalities are my favorite out of any group of side characters we've ever gotten. Even with their limited time on screen, they feel so solid and interesting that I would love to see them return in Dragon's Rising, even if only for a moment. My goal for this video has been to get you to appreciate this group and their pet woke dog just a little bit more. If you never gave the Upply much thought, I hope you now will. Because I'm tired of looking for Upply fan art and getting 2 tiddlywinks of new content every 6 months. Come on, people, I'm bored. Please start thinking about them again, or I'm gonna peel my skin off. Hopefully, my prayers will be answered and we will see these losers again. Is it a big possibility? Well, no. But maybe if I cry hard enough at Doc Wyatt's feet, we'll get a little something. Maybe, if we're lucky, he'll see this video. He won't. But someone will ask him if the Upply are alive on Blue Sky, and he'll say something like, probably. I don't fucking know. Why are you asking me this? I just work here. Who cares about those guys? I don't think about them. And I guess that will have to be good enough for me. Thank you for sticking around for this full video. This one was unironically and unabashedly just me talking about something that does not matter in an effort to pull more people into the characters I'm nuts about. Is it impactful in any actual way? Of course not, but it was important to me that such a video existed at some point. If you want to follow my future endeavors, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss whatever I decide to vomit out next. My other socials will be on screen now, so you can follow me on the brain-rotting website of your choice and keep up with whatever dumb things I'm churning out. I hope this video was enjoyable to some degree. Maybe you have a newfound appreciation for some characters that you don't often think about. I surely hope so. Be sure to let me know in the comments, what are your favorite Ninjago side characters? Would you want them to return to the show at some point? Or, if your favorite character of choice has reappeared in some way, did you like their return, or have some problems with it? I'd love to hear what you think. And be sure to let me know your thoughts on this video and any ideas you may have for what I should discuss in the future, because again, I really do read everything you guys write to me. It is interesting to me. But anyways, that's about all I wanted to talk about. Thanks again, and take care.